Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Fact Sheet Live on eTV Live on Nisim 95.9 and 100.1 as well in Bogotanga and Tamale. And tonight, you're welcome. We're streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. You can look for us on Facebook, Twitter with the handle eTVGhana whilst you look for us. And when you do find us, please do kindly share the link on your platforms, be it on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Twitter, and then spread the good news about the conversation we're going to have tonight. And tonight's conversation has to do with law. It has to do with examinations. It has to do with people who want to practice the profession of law and the frustrations they are going through to get admitted into the Ghana School of Law. What's the matter? Recently, just a few weeks ago, students who had written examinations to pass and go into the Ghana School of Law protested. About 499 of them protested in the streets of Accra about how they feel that they have not been fairly treated when it comes to the examinations that would lead them to practicing later on as lawyers in this country. After that protest, they sent a petition to Parliament. Parliament received that petition, sat on it, and then going through the concerns that these students had raised, felt that there was the need for justice to be served these individuals, and so called on the Ghana School of Law, the Ghana Legal Council, and then the Attorney General to ensure that these 499 students get admission into the Ghana School of Law so as to study and then pass out if they are able to pass the examinations and then become lawyers of the profession. If you take today's newspapers that came, and I seldom do this, but I'll do this tonight, you will find that in most of the papers that I have tonight, all of them were talking about the position of the state attorney on the matter of the reference or the referral by the Parliament of Ghana for the AG to ensure that these students and their concerns are rectified. If you take the Daily Guide this morning or today, one of the stories there says, AG bounces Parliament on law school saga. The Daybreak paper also captures a similar headline. It is also in that paper. The Daily Statesman says same, you can't direct law school admission. Attorney General replies Parliament. Daily Graphic reported, banner headline, 499 School of Law admissions. Parliament has no locus. Attorney General contends. If you read the Ghanaian Times, a similar story was also captured today in the paper. It says, Parliament lacks power to direct admission of 499 law candidates. AG says so. And so this is where we are. As much as Parliament feels that these 499 students should be given the opportunity to enter into the law school, write the examinations and pass, or if they are able to pass, well, the AG holds a different view. Now, aside this concern of the locus of Parliament to instruct, the Ghana School of Law and then the Legal Council, and then even he himself, he makes the case of some 50% mark, which these students say that per the application, the application forms they bought, they were supposed to meet this pass mark in order to qualify. And that's the foundation upon which they wrote this petition. The AG says there is nowhere that it was stated in the advertisement which was made that they were supposed to meet a 50% pass mark. Tonight, we'll try to understand the issues of the Ghana School of Law. If you have been following matters to do with law students, this is not the first time. In 2019, there was a similar incident where students had gone to write the exams. More than 90% of them had not passed the examinations. They requested for a remarking of the examinations. It went to court and a ruling came out. Tonight, we'll peruse that ruling and whether any lessons were learnt at all in 2019 with reference to what we are experiencing today. My name is Samuel Ishen, and I welcome you to Fact Sheet. Here, if it's not a fact, we don't discuss them. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, I'll introduce you to my guest, and then we'll set the ball rolling for tonight. Do stay with us. And so you're welcome back. Once again, my name is Samuel Ishen, and I welcome you to tonight's conversation. Tonight, my guest to help me discuss the issues Mr. Asari Al-Hassan, who is president for the National Association of Law Students, and Anthony Julius, who is General Secretary for NUCS. So is lawyer Delano Alifo here in the studio with me. He's a private legal practitioner, and we are talking about the plight of 499 students that Parliament feels must be given the opportunity to go to the Ghana School of Law, and the Attorney General holds a contrary view. To situate the conversation in proper context, I'd want for us to watch this clip and then we'll begin the conversation.
Under the General Legal Counsel Act, the Attorney General is the minister responsible, and the law says that he may give general directions. I hereby direct that the Attorney General shall ensure that this resolution is carried through. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, even though there's a common thing that we are masters of our own rules, Mr. Speaker, having been groomed in this house from acting ranking to the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the nation has enjoyed your experience and benefited from it. Mr. Speaker, we are grateful and may you live long.
Yes.
I can only say, prosperity to remember. Mr. Speaker, history.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's proceed.
History will bless you.
Let's proceed.
The laws of this country will remember you, Mr. Speaker. Live long.
Is supported, and Mr. Speaker, I think we can put it to a vote, and I'm sure that this House will resoundingly support the motion and the directives communicated to the law school, and I believe that that is the best and swiftest way to do justice to the students. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
At the conclusion of the debate, the question is, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All against the motion, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Ghana General Legal Counsel is hereby directed to proceed and admit all the students who pass in accordance with the advertised rules of the examination. Thank you.
We are presenting this petition to you. As you may be well aware, there's been a lot of agitations when it comes to legal education in Ghana. One of the things that we are requesting for immediately would be to admit all the 499 students who passed their exams and yet are being denied admission to the law school. We feel that by the rules set by the IEC, that is the Education Committee, they are supposed to be admitted as per their rules. But unfortunately, a new rule came out after the exam, which we feel is unreasonable and unacceptable because it cannot be justified within the context of law. Beyond that, we're also seeking for reforms. It is a bit unacceptable to have 17 faculties to actually try to enter just the Ghana Legal School of Law, sorry. We think that the faculties would have to be, the faculties would have to be given accreditation to actually run this law education so that a lot of students can also have access to become lawyers in the near future. We feel this is a provision that is even found in the LI 2355. And for that reason, we are calling on Parliament to speak to this matter and find ways to legislate, if possible, to ensure that there is an opening for all qualified students to get access. Until 2012, we are very much aware that the only access or the only requirement to access legal education when it comes to the PLC was through acquiring an LLB. Unfortunately, it was changed, and we feel we can revert back to it Because if we revert back to it, at the moment, the limitation is actually one of it that I think it is space. So if we can find a way to resolve this issue, we feel Ghanaians will be more happy. We need these reforms to be done as soon as possible because it is something that we petitioned Parliament 2 years ago about, and unfortunately it's still hanging. So we are just petitioning you to still reconsider. So that is why we are here.
So that was the clip of the happenings in Parliament as the Parliament had debated and agreed that the General Legal Council must admit these 499 students. The AG must take the necessary steps to ensure this happens. The petition, as was being presented by the students, and then the present situation where now it's become a matter of locus, it's become a matter of whether there was the mention of a 50% pass mark in the advertisement and the daily graphic. My guests are here with me and we'll start the conversation. Now, I'll take initial reactions from each of us and then we can now start the conversation. I'll start with you, lawyer. What's your reaction to how things have turned up so far?
Good evening to your viewers. I must say that I am excited about how things are going now. I anticipated long ago that it will come to this time when students and the youth will begin to agitate seriously because the people who have been in charge of the nation and who are making regulations about education and general policy directions, I think that they are, I don't know if they are too conservative, too old or something, but so I know that changes have to come. And for those changes to come early enough, there would have to be some agitation by the youth. And so I like the fact that I like when the students went on the street and they began to demonstrate and began to make noise, somebody has to listen. So I believe that it is as a result of it. Because this problem has been there for a very long time. Yeah, but because it is now taking new stride and it's because of the actions of the students, I believe that people are paying attention, and I'm very glad with what is going on, especially the private member bill that is being introduced in Parliament. So that's my initial reaction. I like what is going on. I don't like the way they have managed the situation until this time, but I like the momentum that we are seeing now, and I know that it is going to achieve something very positive.
What are your reactions?
Thank you, and good evening to your listeners. Actually, I think it's a mixed feeling. It's sweet and sour. Sweet in that at least we see the end of a period of struggling to get things to be done. And it's sad because 499 students do not seem to have the privilege of going to school, not because they did not pass the exam, but because somebody thinks, one, maybe they don't have space, or there is some form of limitation that is best known to them. And that is quite sad. But I like at least whatever is happening in terms of trying to change or bring reforms to rectify the situations once and for all. I think that is quite commendable.
All right, Anthony.
I'm personally very happy about how far we have come with our efforts to fight this system. And I must say that I am very disappointed in the Attorney General's reply to Parliament on the issues that have emanated so far, to the point where Parliament would have to issue a directive that the Attorney General, sees to it that the students are admitted. I would not want to go into whether or not Parliament has the locus to do that, but at least whether or not they have it, they have shown commitment that on their part, on the side of the legislature, they are committed to having these students get their education. So we have come to a point where it is obvious to everyone that what must be done, especially in the immediate case for the 499 students, is executive action and executive commitment. And I expect that as this conversation is ongoing, the President of the Republic is listening, the Attorney General serves at his pleasure, and his commitment, at least as he has claimed over the years, that he wants to open up access to education is something he has repeated time without number. I was in the University of Ghana's Great Hall when he came to the investiture of the Vice Chancellor. He reiterated those commitments, and I believe that we are at a point where if he doesn't demonstrate in practical terms, his commitment to actually make education accessible, then people would begin to look at him as someone who is not actually, committed to walking his talks. And I don't believe my president is such. So we expect actions.
All right, now there are two issues I'd want for us to try and deal with tonight before the conversation ends. One has to do with locus, and that I would refer to you as to whether Parliament has that locus to have issued that directive in the first place. And then the issue of the position of the AG that there is nowhere in the advertisement that was made that students ought to get some 50% plus pass mark before they can be classified as being, or having passed. I'll start with you, Mr. Sari. Was there any advertisement that suggested that in order to pass or to qualify, you should have gotten some 50%?
I wouldn't use the word 50% for now, but I'll end with it.
Okay.
Now, in the advertisement, it said the minimum threshold mark.
Okay.
The word is mark.
Okay.
As it stands right now, the students that are already part of the 790, the minimum one has in there is 50. So by their own actions, we can actually conclude that the pass mark, what they meant by the minimum threshold mark is 50, because that is what we saw in the advertisement for the 790. So I think that issue indirectly settles it. So in my opinion, I think it's a red herring to actually move the debate from the actual issue. Now, the problem here is this. As long as you are taking people who have the 50% mark, then by extension, anybody that has 50 and more qualifies. Now, the issue that we are fighting against is one thing. Initially, you did not tell us that you needed 50%, 50% on Part A and 50% on Part B. Let's put the mark issue aside and focus on the rule, because that rule was not communicated to us. So let's assume that they even did not put anything like that there. Let's assume that is the case. How do you go into an exam without even knowing what mark will qualify you into whatever? But in any case, in this case, we have people who have as much as 60, 70, 60, and 61 who have been failed just because a new rule appeared. So let us not belabor the point and focus on mark that by their own action, it is confirmed as being the minimum mark. I don't know whether again what I'm saying. So in my opinion, the focus should rather be on the new rule that we think is in retrospectivity and that it cannot be applied. If we take off that rule, then we know that that 499 do qualify as per their advertisement and they need to be admitted. And that is the point that I just want to make on that.
All right. Now, you are aspiring to become a lawyer.
Yes.
And the law deals with facts and evidence.
True.
And in your submission, all I hear you say is your opinion. What do the facts say?
Facts about what?
About, because you see, the matter of the locus of parliament is in contention now. Now, he says the executive would have that right to determine who instructs who to admit you. Now, the other caveat has to do with the percentage which has been introduced, which is the basis for your assertion that you qualified. And he refused that to say that nowhere in the advertisement was any 50% mark stated.
Good.
Is that true or false?
The number 50 is not stated. I
The
agree.
number 50% is not stated.
It is not stated. But what is the criteria? In fact, if you did not state it, no problem. Now, if you have to tell Ghanaians who you are answerable to what the mark is, are you introducing a new mark? I don't know how. Because, listen, the 790 they have admitted, the minimum mark we see in the 790 is 50.
Okay.
So, can't we then say that your minimum mark is 50? I think it's easy to conclude from that. It's simple. Because the 750, the minimum you have is 50. The highest, I think, is 84. So, how can you say that you did not talk about mark? So what? We cannot assume that that is the mark as per your own 790? It is
A very
obvious
important
in
question. Have you seen the marks students attained? Have you seen them?
Yes, the raw score.
You've seen them?
Yes, I have
And-
them. I can share with you.
Okay, that's fine. And in this raw score,
Yes.
you see students who got that 50% mark,
Yes.
who got admission?
Yes, lots of them, not one, couple of them. It's in there, and I can share with you.
Okay, so in refusing you admission, what was told you?
I wouldn't say in refusing.
Okay,
790 was published as the students who qualify to be admitted.
okay.
When we demanded for the raw score, it came out that people had more than 50% who were denied. But in bringing out the raw score, a notice came with it, which we were not privy to. Now, there is something we call promissory estoppel. When we are not aware of it or we rely on something to our detriment, you don't introduce something new to try and change your stance. Now, we come in, wrote the exams, thinking that as per what has happened in previous times, and indeed we have videos and supporting documents to state that some of the CJs have even mentioned on stage that the minimal aggregate mark is 50.
Okay.
So we come into the exam, we write, we get 50. Let's assume that's what we got. Some got 60 something. Now you come with a new rule that says that you should have had part A 50% and part B 50%. Now let me show you something. Part B is over 60. Part A is over 40. What this actually means is if you had all the 60 over 60 but had 18 over 40, you have failed. Yet somebody who had 20 here and has 30 here gets 50 and has passed. Now, that communication did not get to us until they were producing the raw scores. And that is what has created this whole problem. But you see, if I connect that with the statement of the president on Peace FM, that we do not have space, I think it's a conceding statement indirectly to say that if we have space, we may have admitted them. So I can stretch this conversation to say on authority that if indeed they have space, maybe, well, I actually think that the space issue is actually an excuse to possibly micromanage how many people they can allow to become lawyers of some sort, because we have too much space in Ghana. If we want to create it, we can do it.
All right. Now, hold it there for a second, because I see Anthony is eager to say something. Tony, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I wanted to add up to the issue of the space and the president's response. The GLC has been very inconsistent when it comes to the issue of space and its reason for reducing the number of people. And I feel that it is only an abuse of Section 13(1)(e) and F of the Legal Professions Act, which gives them that discretion to determine who passes or not. Let's take 2019, for instance. In 2019, they admitted 128 people. The same space, 128 people. In 2020, they admitted 1,095 people into the same Ghana School of Law. Then in 2021, they are admitting 790 of the people. How do you reconcile the arguments that, it's space that is the issue? What we see here is a situation where the nature of the Legal Professions Act gives power to certain individuals who are beneficiaries of the legal profession to safeguard the terrain for themselves. Because
So then, the issue about space does not come in.
It does not suffice.
Per the
facts that are available to us.
If you're able to take in over 1,000
Yes.
in 2020, then 700 should not be.
It should not be an issue
for you.
Yes.
So space is not the issue.
Space is definitely
not an issue.
So
you think that there is some sort of selectivity in terms of who becomes a lawyer?
Yes, that's where the problem is, because of the nature of the law that regulates legal profession and the fact that we have not managed to disentangle the regulation of the profession from the education. What we have is a situation where the Chief Justice, for instance, and the most senior justices of the Supreme Court are members of the General Legal Council. And the Attorney General is a member. These are people who, one way or the other, came from firms and all those things. And they would want to limit the number of people in the profession. And you know the problem that creates? The ratio of a lawyer to, all the lawyers, almost all of them practice from Accra. And you would do the ratio analysis.
What's the advantage of having a limited number of lawyers?
They have more clients per lawyer. They have more clients per lawyer. So if you allow the regulators of the profession, who are professionals themselves, to regulate how many people come in, it's like a market situation. If you are selling at Makola and you are exercising monopoly over a certain area, you sell tomatoes. Would you allow more tomato sellers there if there are customers flocking to you? So we should manage to disentangle the sea. This practice is only in Ghana. If you go to other jurisdictions, for example, the United States, there is no such thing as a pause in the middle to come and take a professional course or whatever. The faculties run the course from start to finish. So if you are admitted into a law school, let's say in the state of Pennsylvania, and you have your LLB, or you go in as a Juris Doctor, that's like sort of a master's postgraduate degree in law. When you go, you study all the things that are taught at Makola, things like civil procedure, criminal procedure, evidence, all those things are taught before you complete. And once you finish, you have a choice to either apply to a different state for the bar examination or the same state. You pass your bar examination and you are gone. But this situation where we have, where the GLC now says that the LLB, it does not make you a professional. So now come to us, write an entrance examination, let's interview you and select those who we want. And then after that, even within the law school itself, see, we are talking about this thing as if admission and all those things is the only problem, but it is not. Within the law school, when you make it into the law school, there are a lot of challenges. Even the call to the bar. During the call, they can elect you today that the call is Friday. Pay 15,000 immediately before you can attend the call. If you're unable to pay that, you don't go. There's a different situation also about remarking. Very exorbitant charges. It was 3,500. I'm told recently they reduced it to 1,000 something. And the remarking situation is such that when you fail a paper in your final year, there is no space for you to demand for a remarking of your paper or rewrite the paper before the call. Because they announced, let's say today, Tuesday, until Friday is the call. You have no option to manage to get yourself in. You have to wait the next year, or I think there's a supplementary you write. But even that, you won't be called to the bar with your colleagues. So you see, the discretion that the GLC is allowed to exercise is too much. And I believe that they have been exercising it in contravention with the Constitution. Because look at Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution. It says, where in this Constitution discretionary power is vested in any individual or an authority, they must exercise it fairly and candidly. What we see is not fair to anybody.
I get the point about fairness, I get the point about discrimination, I get the point about selectivity, but there's a lawyer here. He has gone through the system. Sure. He knows what is in there. The point you made about the interests of certain individuals and the law firms from which they came.
Yes.
How applicable is that theory that he suggests?
I have heard a lot of interesting points that I didn't know about. They have a lot of issues. I believe some of those issues will be trashed out when we get the basics right. Okay. I think that the beginning of this problem is because of space. I think that because many years back, in fact, I wrote an article about this same situation in 2009 when I was called to the bar. I'm sure I wrote that article probably a day or two after I had been called to the bar. You see, and it was, the problem was about space. I do agree, because even in the past, they were even conducting interviews. And you know, all those processes that would help the managers to eliminate certain people and take the number that they want and all of that, So I do agree, and perhaps they are trying to protect or preserve. In fact, I think as recently as yesterday or so, when they were inducting the new bar executives, I heard Attorney General say that it's a privilege. The practice of law is a privilege, a profession. I hate to hear such things. And so it is true that they think that it's a privilege. If you get there before you practice law, you must have been some big guy. In fact, in the past, I understand that if you carry certain names, you may not even get admission to the law school. So all of those things may be there. So if they are doing this just to protect their, I don't know if it's so much about clients because they want to protect the market, and I don't know, but yes, indeed, there's a resemblance of that kind of activity that they want to buy.
It is that argument that I find a bit troubling, because I'm looking at you and your submissions, brilliant submissions. I'm looking at you and your submissions, brilliant submissions. No one can determine if you have gotten admission, hypothetically, you've gotten admission to the Ghana School of Law. You pass out as a lawyer. No one determines which law firm you would go. And the quality of your arguments would attract a law firm to decide, I want to work with Tony. I want to work with Al-Hassan. And so then, why would a law firm decide to inhibit such a brilliant student like you who can be in that law firm to serve their interests?
No. If you listen to him carefully, it is not the law firms per se that are inhibiting. It is the people who are managing, who are whether it's the Board of Legal Education or GLC or whatever. They don't want too many lawyers in the system. That's the kind of argument he's making. So if they don't want too many lawyers, then they have to put in place structures that would prevent a lot of people from entering. You see, so, but because it's going to be very difficult to make this argument, because you can't support it. It's just suppositions, and we make assumptions and make suppositions. That's it. So, but what we know for sure is that there's not enough space. You understand? That's the way we can tackle it, because I don't see how you can solve this problem, because they will tell you it's not true.
The issue about too many lawyers, let me come to you.
Let me touch on two.
Okay.
Why is it that as of today, the Ghana Bar Association has not spoken? Why? I think it's in the end, when we become lawyers, we are going to definitely connect to any of these people who are part of the association. And indeed, we are going to be part of the association. So they should rather be speaking to the issues, and yet they are all quiet. Number two, the issue of space. I would have to support senior because of one reason.
Okay.
In 2020, in fact, in my own mind, I think it was politically motivated to get those 1,045 students. I'll tell you what. Before 2020, they went to class, every student went to class from Monday to Friday. That is 2020.
Okay.
In 2020, when they had the 10:45, they started a shift system. Now you choose 2 of the days.
Okay.
Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Indeed, if they had space, there was no need for a shift system. But that is what they are running now. Now, let me take you back into the law school. As we speak right now, I hear about 300, between 300 and 500, I'm not so sure of the number, have failed, and they have to repeat. So the first part 1 students are going to be repeated. Now, there is this repeat system that we've been calling for the abolition thereof. Where you write 10 papers, you fail 3. Senior, I'm sure you experienced it. You fail 3, and you have to write all the 10 again. If I failed ABC and passed the other 7, the next year, if I write and I pass the ABC, but fail the ones that I passed, I'll still have to repeat all the 10. Now, if you put the part 1 students who have failed right now and put those who have failed the 3 together, you are blocking some space that some of these 499 could have accessed if they were given the chance to stay home and write those 3 papers. But now they have to write all the 10. So they'll come to class. So these blockades are there. But beyond it, when I listen to the president, let me refer to it again. He said this problem has been there before the 499. So they are very much aware that the problem exists. And in my opinion, it is very solvable. All you need is space. How much is space? In fact, if every student is paying 15,000 for the 499, you're talking of about 7.5 million.
But I'm lost here, because at one point, we are talking about a privileged class.
Agreed.
Okay?
Yes.
At another point, we are talking about space.
Good.
At another point, we are talking about Tony's position, about some clientele protection mechanism that's in there.
I can connect all for you.
Connect them for me.
So let's assume I take his position, a cabal, for lack of a better description, wanting to ensure that they micromanage the numbers. Now, if there's enough space, then you will be forced to bring in a lot of people. So let me control the space so that a lot of people do not come in. Because he made a statement that at 32 he is referring to has a provision in it that allows the faculties to run the PLC. Now, why aren't we allowing them and we are giving excuses of space? Today, I read, in fact, I listened. The director of Ghana Law School said that they are considering giving some or granting some faculties the right to run this. Now, why has it taken so long with all these agitations since 2017? It is now that we are referring to this matter that now we want to consider 5. So if they wanted to do it, they could have done it. But I think it's the private member bill that is forcing some of these issues to come out now. But I feel it is very deliberate, and they could have opened this thing long ago.
All right. Now, I felt you disagreeing with the position he held. What's your position?
You see, I'm not very sure that I disagree entirely with the position they are espousing. And for instance, but he tried to say that.
Is there some protectionism cabal, for want of a better word, within the law space?
We can only make that conclusions from what we are
But
seeing.
do you sense it as a practicing lawyer?
I'm not too sure. I made these arguments before, and I'm not here trying to defend. In fact, I don't support what the system, the establishment is doing, whether the Ghana Bar Association, the General Legal Council, and all of that. But I'm saying that there are certain things that we shall say over here that may be based only on our assumptions. We only assume. We make conclusions from what we are seeing. But there are other things that are very factual there that we can put our hands on, and which we can, and one of them is space, for instance. I'm saying that, and if you are saying that, because why it said is, perhaps they are refusing to even create the space because of those other, because they want it to remain a privileged profession. And if they create the space, then more people may have to come in because they have to take people to fill that, so they are not creating the space. Well, we don't know. So, but what we know is that the space is not there. So let's force them to create the space. And the way to force them to create the space, for instance, he talked about how lawyers are trained in the U.S. If, as a matter of fact, for you guys to know, I'm a product of the U.S. system. So while you are talking about that, I went through that. And if you look at my article that I wrote in October, in fact, October 20th, it's online, you can find it, 20th, 2009, all that we are hearing now, in fact, all that is in the private member bill, they are all there already. I made all these arguments already. I'm saying that, in fact, I took, in Ghana here right now, you have to take the substantive law of criminal law in the faculty, and then you come and take the criminal procedure in the Ghana School of Law. You see, I took the two, not only did I take the two courses in the same school, I took them the same semester, criminal law and criminal procedure. Why can't that be done over here? It can be easily done. So I made this argument long ago, 12 years, again, you can refer to, and I said that, look, they have to decentralize the training of lawyers. Ghana, the Makola School of Law, we don't need it. We really don't need it. The faculty should train the lawyers. When they come back, when they come out with their LLBs, they should just go and write the bar exams. So the Ghana General Legal Council will only be organizing bar. If they want to maintain the facilities at Makola, then it should only be a center for the bar exams. And then they hire other places. Everybody that gets the LLB, I believe strongly that anybody that obtains the LLB wants to be a lawyer, wants to be a practicing lawyer. And so they should give opportunity to all of them. So I made this argument long ago. And again, perhaps I made the argument because even at that time, I had come from the US and I was a product of that. So I understood this thing even at that time. But it is only now that I can see many people in Ghana talking about it. You see, because we have been pushed so much to the wall that the students are now on the street wearing red shirts and agitating, and so people are now thinking aloud. And so they are grabbing all this information here and there. And then let's give credit to Professor Akweko Asare also. He has said a lot about, and because he also trained in US. And so all that he says is what I also believe in, and it's the same thing I also wrote 12 years ago. So yes, I do agree with you. I am saying that, you see, the simple argument I'm making is that we know that the issue of space is there. That one we can put our hands on that. We have a proper handle on it. That is a problem. All the other things may be true. They may be, because we all heard the Attorney General said it. That is a privilege, and the way they talk about it. So yeah, indeed, if it says so, it means that they don't want too many people to come there, because then it may become too ordinary. Yeah, so they have to be careful even with the words they use, because when they say those things, that is where my friend can be making this assumption and say, yeah, okay, then that is why they are, yeah, that is.
But you
so
see,
it's
your
unfortunate.
Your point.
It shouldn't be a
Tommy,
privilege. We don't have
point.
that many lawyers in this country.
Your point. You see, for me to decide to go to a law firm, it will be influenced by certain factors, and you help me out. How much that firm is going to charge me, their competence, the cases they've dealt with, and their ability to deliver, plus other factors which may come in. And so, if, for instance, one of these big law firms, who may be sponsoring this protectionism thing that we are talking about, how many cases really go to them?
Let me just give you a, okay.
Please do.
Here's a situation where we have about 3,200 and something lawyers in Ghana, as of checked from 2020.
Okay.
3,200 plus lawyers in Ghana. And we have a population of over 30 million. Strike the ratio and see. It's a ratio of one lawyer to 9,687 people. Okay. And regardless of those other factors that you may talk about, who argues better, which firm has records of winning cases, which firms, made the landmark cases, etc. There's also a factor of whether or not you have too many options.
Yeah.
And if that factor limits you, it still inures to the benefit of those who safeguard the system. Yeah. And then, respectfully, lawyer made a point that it's an assumption, but I want to assert that it's not an assumption. We had the former Chief Justice said it in public, that it is not under her watch that they will have a situation where so many people are walking about that they are lawyers.
Okay.
Which means it is obvious from the establishment that no, this is not a profession that we are going to open to all of you and all. So I've been of the opinion that if the legislature, per their actions recently, have shown commitment that they want the system to be fair, they want the faculties to run it. This action, which has been initiated by the Honorable Roxanne Dapamekbo and then the MP for Medina, should have been what we resorted to a long time ago. Because if you look at the Legal Professions Act, it's an act of parliament which gives these powers to these people and left so many caveats for abuse. So once you deal with it legislatively, you repeal part of those laws if you want to, you propose an amendment which takes away those powers from them. And for me, I've been very plain with it, that they should be stripped of those powers that they have by legislative action. Once that happens, they cannot, under any circumstance, limit the profession.
All right.
So that is what we need.
Before a quick one, let me just provide a simpler answer to the question that you asked. You see, if there are a few law firms, assuming there are 10 law firms, if they allow too many lawyers to come into the system and they open offices all over the place, firms all over the place, when you step out of your house and there's a law firm there, you are very likely to go to that lawyer, the one that is closest to you, to talk to that person first. So you see the reason why they may not want too many lawyers, because in fact, even after you train, it is very difficult in this country to open your own law firm. Unlike the US, you can just come out of, in fact, when you obtain your license, you can open your office immediately. You don't even need a pupillage. If you don't do your work well, they will not come to you. So I don't see why somebody should sit somewhere and say that the lawyers, we have to train you for you to be able to do well. If you can't do well, then no, just leave the people. Let them open offices. Let them work. If they don't work well, the people will not come to them. They are not actually protecting the general public, those clients. That is not what they are protecting when they make the arguments that we have to make sure that you know the law very well, you practice under a senior lawyer for several years or for 6 months and then, no, I don't think that they are trying to protect. Just allow the people, when they have their degree, they have their licenses, they should open offices.
All right.
Open offices and anybody can walk to them anytime. That is what we should do, and we shall get there as well. I believe strongly that we shall get there. It's just a matter of time.
The conversation is getting really interesting tonight. The views being expressed this evening on Fact Sheet. I'm sure you're also, picking a few points from it. But for now, I would want for us to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have some 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is to answer one simple question. What next? per the position of the senior state attorney, the AG, who says the directive from Parliament, they have no locus. We'll be right back. Back to Fact Sheets Live on eTV Live on Happy 90. I was going to talk about Happy 98.9 FM because tomorrow morning I'm thinking about the fact that I'll be here at 5:30 a.m. for the Happy Morning Show. But we are live on Nissim 95.9 and 100.1 and then live on Facebook as well. I've seen lots of comments from people who support the positions that you are upholding tonight on the show. But final question. AG says the directive doesn't hold. What next? Mr. Sari.
The directive doesn't hold, but he also added that the president has instructed him to look at the matter. So it's a bit dicey and not straightforward. So that window of hope is still there for the 499. The bit about the non-binding resolution, however, in my opinion, matters because Parliament represents the people, and the people went to see their representative to say, speak on our behalf, and therefore they spoke the mind of the people. So even though it's non-binding, I think the AG should still consider, because this 499 actually passed the exams and they have to go to school. Beyond that, we are in court, as you already know. I'm not sure whether you know, but on Tuesday we have to go back to court and still hope that the court will deliver justice as per their own rule. Also, I think it's very welcoming and applaudable that the private member bill is coming up fantastically. I heard, as I said, the director of legal education talking about the fact that they want to allow some faculties to run, but unfortunately there's no timeline to that one. I don't know whether it's to diffuse the momentum of Parliament, but I will encourage Parliament to go on with what they are doing so that we can resolve this problem once and for all. But as I said, there's some window of hope in the letter of the AG. We are still in court and hoping that we can get justice from there. Time is of essence because as we speak, they started school yesterday. So we hope that some way, somehow, something good will come out of this and that the 499 will be back to school with their mates.
Tony, final comments.
Yes, I agree entirely with my brother on the issue of the fact that Parliament should proceed with what they have started. I've been of the opinion that it is the only lasting solution to this. To the extent that these issues are left in the hands of the GLC, who are made up of people who, I say, are beneficiaries of the profession and would reap the benefits of what comes of a larger market, we would continue to have this problem. In a country where, you know, more than 78% of the lawyers are practicing from Accra, where is the social justice in that? To access a lawyer, I must move all the way from Tamale to Accra before I access some. I mean, there are records that show, statistics that show that sometimes you can find only 21 lawyers in Tamale, the whole of the north. If you want to get one, you have to come down here. So this is beyond even the legal education. This is beyond even the restriction of people. Our society, how are we building it? The inequality it breeds and all that. So as the National Union of Ghana students, I'm very enthused about the bill. We are going to mobilize our guys to support Parliament. We are going to, you know, do online petitions and all that, get people to sign on to them, and we would follow up with memos to the Speaker. We have already sent some to the Speaker ahead of, you know, the honorable members filing theirs. We would send more memos to back them on that. And I believe that once we get that bill through, the GLC cannot touch anybody again, and that's the best solution.
All right. Now, yours would not be where we are going, but apart from the prestige to do with the practice of, or the profession of being a lawyer, is it a profitable profession?
Well, I don't know how to. You know, I for about 10 years now, I have been working for the poor, people who do not have money to hire lawyers. I don't know if you have heard about Help Logana. That is the organization I founded.
Okay.
And so I've been providing a lot of free legal services to. There are a lot of people in our prisons who are not supposed to be there. Many of them are innocents. The police just arrest them, beat them up, write statements for them, and upon their own statement they go and then they put them in. Yeah, so I have been working for those people for all these years. So I have not made any fortune, so I don't know. So I cannot say for sure whether it is. I have not made that fortune. Yeah, so that is it. That's what I would say about it. But well, you know, we are all in the country. We do see lawyers around. So you judge them by.
We do see lawyers around because I see some lawyers.
But I don't
like,
think the prestige. You see the prestige part and the privilege part. I don't agree to that. It shouldn't be a privileged profession. You see, we just have to thank God that we are in the profession.
I was going to make a point.
We give back to society. That's what we should be doing, and we shouldn't feel pompous. You know, so some of us are very simple. We want to, well, look, left to me alone, we shouldn't be wearing the gown and the wig and all of that. Of course, I come from the US, but you guys, look, it will surprise you that some of even the relatively younger lawyers, they want the gown, they want the wig, you want to feel big. You know, I don't want it. I just want the flying tie. Just like US, go and then smartly do your work and then come out. But here, people want to feel so big. You're a lawyer, big time, you know. So, yeah. So I don't really think that that's how it should be. And it is. Look, when I listened to the Attorney General again, I felt so bad. They are the ones making the whole thing look like before you become a lawyer, then you should have gone through so much. Look, we are just ordinary, like anybody else. Anybody could study to become a lawyer. But let me quickly also say that you guys, I like the fight. When you finish this fight, and I'm telling you that I am predicting it today, that we shall achieve every move that we have to do, that we have to achieve to make the practice progressive. So when you finish this one, we shall get to that stage where we have to argue for lawyers. Young lawyers should be able to open their offices. It shall get there. Okay. If you like market, it shall get there. It's just a matter of time. We have to force the system to accept. You see, let's be very free and do our work. Nobody should say that you have to. But finally, again, you know, there's somebody watching. There's somebody watching me far away from Volta region and says that I have to say hi to him, Ali. If you are listening to me, and Armstrong, all those guys. Otherwise, I'm sure
you're in trouble.
Yes.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you very much for watching.
We'll have to wrap up here. My name is Samuel Ishe. My guests tonight have been Hassan Asari, who is the President National Association of Law Students, Anthony Julius, who is the General Secretary for NUCS, and then lawyer Delanyo Alifo, who is a private legal practitioner. My name is Samuel Ishe. Maybe tomorrow I may decide to also go to law school. And if we don't fight today, I may be met with the same, you know, frustrations that they are going through today. But news updates is up next before Girl Vibes continue.